With your new game, are you going back to the old way or focusing on feeling and positioning?
Well, this time Sam has shingles.
Right. So we got a new
This game came out of my shingles, bro.
Butterscotch. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 97 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the game dev comedy podcast, Butterscotch Shenanigans. I'm Seth, and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Adam. I'm the breaker of robots.
I'm Sam, and I make the art pictures.
And today is May 9th, 2015. We have a warning before we get started. Anything can happen on this show. There's going to be profanity. We will be swearing basically nonstop.
Yep.
In a very pleasing and joyful way, of course.
Yeah.
But it is going to happen. And so if you don't like that, just get yourself on out of here.
Once it stop, the fun don't pop. No, that's not how it works.
All
Once
right.
you cuss, the fun don't sus. Muss.
All right, literal brothers.
Hey.
Let's get on to the news of the week. So something happened this past week and a half. Sam, you were gone last week. Let's talk about that.
Okay, I'm gonna tell a scary story. Very spooky.
Spin us a disgusting yarn.
So last week on Monday morn,
Monday fun day.
I woke up and I was like, my kidney kind of hurts. Just the area in my, kind of like the lower back area on the left side. And I looked at a diagram because I was like, this hurts. I feel like I must have a kidney stone.
What body part is this?
Or something crazy. So, yeah, so I pulled up an anatomy map.
Turned out it was your cheek, actually.
And I was like,
Your back cheek.
this is definitely a left kidney. Like it's right in the area.
What else is in there? What else could it have
The thing is, literally all of the guts are just like on top of each other,
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere. So it
Oh,
could be
that's
a kidney,
true. Yeah.
could be your colon, could be, I think there's something else over
There's like a
there.
spleen in there.
They're really crammed in there. I think the human body is kind of put together like a laptop. Like all
Yeah,
the parts
it's
are
really-
really.
Well, it's like our top half is mostly just lungs.
Yeah, the bottom
Just a
half
bunch
is
of air.
just guts.
And then
There's
that's
just
all the
guts
room we
and
had
all
left
this.
was just cram it all in the bottom.
Yeah, so I look at this and I'm like, pretty sure this is a kidney scenario. So I'm gonna wait it out, see what happens. So the pain keeps on intensifying, and by Tuesday or so, it felt like there was a masseuse with like really strong thumbs who every 8 seconds or so would just push into that spot on my back.
Just jam it in there.
It's like when we have a friend, you're like, hey, could you rub my back? And they're like, sure. And then they just like break your back in half,
We've all
you know?
been there.
Mm-hmm.
You
You
know?
have those
Yeah.
overzealous
This
friends.
happens to me at least twice a day.
Yeah, whenever I'm hanging out with my huge beefy friends with giant thumbs, and I have
those
them
thumbs to
massage
use.
me, I'm always filled with regret.
Yeah.
you know?
So this keeps on intensifying, and I'm like, what is happening? And then I asked Diana to take a picture of it, of my back, to send to my dad because he's a doctor, and just to ask him. I was pointing at the pain location.
He's also our dad since we're literal brothers.
Literal.
Yeah, he is our dad. So I sent a picture of it to him, with just me pointing at it, and Diana noticed when she was taking the picture there were 3 little dots
Oh shit.
on my back, not where my pain was, but just like back there.
So this is from where like the vampire bit you.
apparently,
I was thinking it might be like a predator.
Oh, yeah, the
laser
target reticle?
sight.
Yeah.
yeah, chupacabra.
Did you also notice that when you took a picture of it, it actually didn't appear in the picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And neither did you.
I become a vampire. So Diane takes this picture, sends it to Dad, and then we notice these dots, and I'm like, I know what extreme pain plus a rash is. So I Google it,
Vampire bite.
and it's a vampire bite.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, I'm turning. This is my life.
Well, fortunately,
now.
it was a goose vampire, so I think it doesn't carry
It doesn't
over.
transfer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did get shingles.
Oh.
So shingles is supposed to be like a 60 plus thing that you get when you're just old and ancient. It's because what happens is once you have the pox, you get chicken pox as a kid. Nearly everybody's either had it or had the vaccine. Once you have had the vaccine or been inoculated through the trial of chicken pox, then the virus actually just lives in you permanently.
It's just there.
It's just
chilling.
there, chilling along your nerve pathways.
Herping it up.
Herping it up. It's a herpes virus. Herpes zoster, right? Is that the
Yeah.
one?
I don't know.
Something like that. So it's just chilling on your nerves. And at some point, when you're at like a low point, which usually happens, of course, when you're in advanced age, you'll get pneumonia or something, and then because your immune system's weakened, the virus comes out.
It's really just in any weakened immune state.
Yeah, and so I'm apparently still very much like a toddler in terms of immune system
Because you got a new one.
because I got a new one, and so
They didn't give you a vaccine for it when you got your new immune system?
not for shingles.
I mean, for chickenpox, there's no.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's how you get shingles, actually, is by getting the chickenpox
Sure,
vaccine,
yeah.
right? So,
Damn it.
eventually. So,
Catch-22. So really, they gave you shingles by giving you the.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I'd rather have that than chickenpox, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know, honestly.
Well,
This
let's
hurts
talk
like
about
fuck.
it. I mean, what is it like?
So basically, what happens is a huge belt of this rash. It follows a nerve pathway, and along your skin, then wherever that nerve feeds your skin, it like blooms into this just disgusting red blister-filled mass. And so,
As you put it, it just looked like somebody spilled marinara sauce on
that's
your
what it
back.
looks like. Just like a big jar. Someone's just like, "Boosh." And I'm very pale, so that should give you an idea of what that looks like.
Very
It's just-
striking.
It was incredible. And then it blisters, and the whole time it itches and hurts. And the worst part is that the pain you have in the back, the thing that feels like a masseuse getting in on you, starts sort of spreading just to your skin generally on whatever half of the body is that this nerve is on. It's like and then the pain apparently just lasts. So the rash has now gone away. It's basically healing up almost completely, but the nerve pain just stays for apparently months.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, so it's just the case that apparently I'm just going to be in a medium.
Just your
amount of
regular,
pain.
constant, searing pain.
Yeah.
Sort of scenario.
So I can just that's what I'm at now.
Cool.
Shingles. 10
That's a
out of
good
10.
time.
Wish it on your enemies. Never get shingles if you can help it. I don't know why they don't just give you the shingles vaccine. Why do you have to wait till you're 60?
I don't know,
I
man.
want
Wait.
the vaccine.
But I mean, how would you get a vaccine? Because it's the same virus.
I don't know. They have a vaccine for shingles.
For shingles specifically?
Yeah.
That isn't just a chickenpox
I even
vaccine?
saw it when I went to go pick up some other meds at Walgreens. There was a little note, and I started laughing because it's like shingles vaccine, 60 or older.
Yeah, can I just have it
Could
now?
Could I have?
I don't know.
Maniacs?
I don't know, podcast listeners. You should probably go look into this.
I feel like
Get yourself juiced up.
Who's that guy? Mike Rowe, who does dirty jobs and then kind of explains them to people.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like my life is as far as this illness stuff.
Yeah, you get it for everybody else and
Let
explain
me tell you what it's like.
exactly why they don't.
Hurts like fuck. Don't get shingles.
Yeah, so don't do that. We also sent out a newsletter last week,
Yeah.
which has been getting a lot of we're getting a lot of kick out of it. We hid a secret message in the newsletter,
Yeah.
and then we linked everybody to our Discord to have so that they would have a bunch of other people to help them figure it out. And I think it took like 36 hours or something for the
It would have been, no, I think it would have been just shy of 24 hours.
yeah. So our community folks figured out the secret message, and then after they posted the answer, they deleted it from the Discord because they're like, I want to see other people figure it out. So the answer still, I don't think, is in there.
Yeah, but there are many clues now.
There's a lot of clues floating around.
Yeah.
So if you, it might have gone to spam though for a lot of people. So if you're signed up for the newsletter, which you probably are if you're listening to the podcast, then be sure to check your spam folder. Check out that secret message in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An interesting thing about sending out, 150,000 emails is apparently if you do it too fast,
Yeah. You got to
Then-
follow all these rules that nobody will give you because if they give them out, then spammers will just take advantage of them, you know?
you have
So-
to find them via messing up a lot.
Yeah.
So we think we might have.
We sent out the messages.
I told
too
Adam
fast.
on Friday, I was like, turn the volume up.
yeah.
And
Turn
he
on the
did.
fire hose.
And then probably they all went to spam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the trick is that a lot of it is you have to be really consistent, have like a consistently high open rate and all that sort of stuff. But since we're on the tail end of Crashlands, then our new Butterscotch ID signups are really low. So our daily email output is like 1,000 emails a day. And then when it comes to sending out a newsletter once every 4 to 6 weeks, now we're going to send it to 150,000 people over 48 hours, right? And so it's a sudden spike in activity, and we're operating at such a low level that we're no longer in the trustworthy category. We have to prove our trust. So probably we have to
Damn
have
it.
to do. So there's the problem with secrets though, is how do you? Because really we should be spinning up a newsletter and then like feeding it out over weeks even just to keep our
But if we have a secret message in there,
right. Then now listen to
want the
people at the
community,
end.
right.
So I don't know. What
Well,
to
I'm
do.
gonna announce the actual the secret. I'll announce it tomorrow. So Wednesday.
Where? How?
Via the twits
Nah, the twits.
and the blog probably.
blog.
So those of you who haven't figured it out yet, you have no time actually. Just go to the blog and look at it.
Yeah.
And then you could also go to the Discord to beg for the answer.
Yeah, which we have a great new link is at bit.ly/BS Discord. So if you want to come into our Discord, come on over to bit.ly/BS Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah. We thought very carefully about what we should use for that bit.ly link.
Yeah. I feel like we really sort of like pulled deep on that one.
Yeah, we took every creative juice we had
Mm-hmm.
and made BS Discord.
Yeah. Also, we have Crashlands is in the Humble Bundle this week.
Yeah.
Still for the
Super
for
cheap.
one more week.
If you got friends who haven't played it yet, they can get Crashlands Plus. I think the Curious
other
Expedition and
I don't even
Hacknet
know.
and
Sure.
It's in the beat the average category. So I think at the moment you got to pay like $6 or something.
Very expensive.
So yeah, I mean that's a pretty sweet deal. So if you have any friends who have been thinking about playing Crashlands and have just not ponied up the cash, now is the time to, of
Or-
course, buy it for them
Exactly.
and then send them the Steam key.
Right. Yep.
So all right, and then one final news item is the Shenana Jam. It's coming. What is it? It's happening 2 Fridays from now. It's a game jam.
Wait, is it only 2 Fridays from now?
soon.
Or 2 weeks from Friday.
So 3
Wait.
Fridays from now.
What is this Friday? Today's the
We got to
9th.
do some.
This
linear
Friday
algebra.
is the 13th?
Ish.
12th?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
12th?
Okay.
2
2
weeks from
Fridays.
Friday.
Cool.
So it's happening on May 26th. It's a
But that is
game
still 3
jam.
Fridays, just to be clear.
Right. It's happening May 26th. We know that much.
That would be the best way to say it.
So it's a game jam that we are hosting on itch.io, and you can get there through itch.io/jam/bscotch100, and it is a celebration of our 100th podcast episode. And we're also going to be, there's a rating system. So after the jam concludes, then you can have your game reviewed and rated by the other participants of the jam, and you can also rate other people's games. And our intention is to, after the rating and judging dies down, is to pull down a few of the top games and do some goofy ass YouTube playthroughs of them. So if you want to get in on that, then do it. And honestly, you know, if you haven't made a game before, but you've always kind of thought about it,
Then do it.
Do it.
Please do it.
you're the prime candidate because these are the kinds of events that change people's lives. Because you discover that you can do something that you had no idea.
You had it in you all along.
So, so you have,
Much
you have
like shingles.
Much like shingles.
yeah. So you have a few weeks, and actually on the jam page, we actually have we have a sort of a frequently asked questions section about what kinds of tools to use, you know, what to do if you've never made a game before, you know, all that stuff. So check it out. We have all the resources there for you. And, you know, if you have any other questions, just hop into the Discord and start asking.
At bit.ly/bsdiscord.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's all the news we got for the week.
Sure. Let's go.
So now we're going to move on to some questions. And these questions come from our listeners at podcast.bscotch.net. So if you would like to get your questions on the podcast in the future, dunk some questions into our hoop holes. All right. First question comes from,
Wait, are hoop holes?
it's kind of redundant, I guess. A hoop is more of a ring, I guess, not a hole.
That's true.
It's a hole in the universe. All right. First question comes from Kevin888. So the past few casts have had segments on using your time and money well. So last week we talked about college, stuff like that. This all makes sense to me logically, but it does seem kind of sad to live like that, always working to improve yourself above everything else. Is there ever time to party?
Oh, yeah. All the time. What did we do last night? We had a fire pit, made mallows, burned some mallows, ate mallow skins.
It's very Malo-centric.
Well, we want to talk about this because
But we also talked about how to make better marshmallows based on our experience.
Yeah, so
You never stop improving.
So let me share my marshmallow technique. So what you do is take a marshmallow, you put it on a stick. For those of you who haven't done this before, if you haven't roasted marshmallows, you just take this sugary marshmallow candy and you put it over an open flame. And what happens is the outside of it will crystallize. And most people stop there. They're like, hey, this is golden brown or black because I caught it on fire and I don't know how to use
Golden
marshmallow.
black.
So ideally, you hold it just above sort of a hot spot in the fire until it's golden brown. Rotate it, keep on making golden
And
brown.
you can tell because a little bit of smoke will start coming off the mallow as it starts to brown.
And then what you do, instead of stopping, don't stop there because the burned skin is the best part of the mallow. So what you do is you actually remove it from the fire, take the skin, just grab the marshmallow
You skin
skin.
it.
It's actually not hot yet, and you just pull it off. And now you have this thin layer of essentially caramelized mallow skin.
Then you got yourself a nice marshmallow hide.
Yeah,
And
you got a
can make that
marshmallow
into
hide.
a rug. You can
Yeah,
make it
tan
into a
it,
jacket.
And then you take the remaining mallow, the core of the mallow,
The
and
mallow
put
nuts.
it back in the fire. And yet again,
make a new skin.
make a new skin.
Yeah, because marshmallows
off.
regrow their skin
Very rapidly.
in fire.
They're
In
kind of
fire.
like lizards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's our marshmallow technique. And what it does is it gives you a very crispy, fantastic s'more making material in particular when you have a few of these skin layers in there.
Which is all to say, why not party and always become better at the same time.
At partying.
Also, there's a great
Optimize
there's a
your party
great
experience.
s'more technique I have where basically you take like a Cadbury chocolate bar, right? You open it up, leave it out in the sun for a little bit.
Mm.
So it's a little bit kind of moldy, right? Not moldy, like you can mold it.
Malleable.
Malleable, right? Let it be.
How long did you leave it in the sun?
Let it be moldable.
Okay, sure.
If it's moldy, throw it out. Then you take it, you crush it into a ball. Okay. You like clay,
your
like
hands?
chocolate clay. You form it into a ball. Okay.
Okay.
Then you take a jar of marshmallow paste, right? You throw that into a blender.
Just with the glass also?
Yeah. then you take a box of graham crackers, throw that into the blender.
Cardboard? No.
Cardboard, no. Right? turn that shit on. Let it go.
Wait. Did you put the chocolate in there too?
No, the chocolate is still
Okay,
separate.
because I was
right?
confused about why it was a
You got
ball.
you pour the chocolate in a ball.
Okay.
You put that chocolate in the freezer.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Right. Then you blend up your marshmallow cream or whatever it's called.
Marshmallow,
You know what I'm talking about?
cardboard, yeah, the whole thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
You blend up the graham cracker, you blend up the marshmallow.
The boxes that came.
Now
with it.
you've got a nice blender full of sort of like s'more materials ready
Sure,
to work
right.
with, right?
probably a gray brown color.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then you just reach your hand into the blender. Turn it off first. reach your hand into the blender. Pull out a huge handful of marshmallow graham debris.
Mhm.
Okay. Then you take that frozen ball of chocolate. You cram it in the middle.
Okay.
Then you kind of wrap and morph the marshmallow graham cracker around it.
Huh? So it's like a sticky snowball.
Yeah. With like a solid chocolate core.
Okay.
Right? Then you just chuck that in the fire.
You just because you can't eat that.
You can't eat
You
that. That's
maniac.
garbage.
But I think this is an interesting point because I think
So you can hollow out the ball and put the gooey stuff on the inside.
there's this. I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah,
I'm gonna get back on track. So
So
there's
you
this.
can't eat that either.
There's this phenomenal College of Humor video I saw, which I think is recent, which was this guy comes in, he's like, 2017 is going to be my most productive year ever. I got this planner. I planned out every minute of time. And then he gets one of those fidget cubes. He's like, this is going to make me less stressed. And then he has this app that tells him when to do things. And so it starts, telling, it's like meditate. And he's like, oh, I got to meditate right now. And he starts meditating. And it's like, check your journal. And he's like, oh, I'm checking my journal. And so he catches on fire from this sort of like
Because he's way too productive.
overactivity. And I think the interesting question here, and we talked about this actually a lot, and there's an article we shared internally in the studio on Friday, I think, which is about this idea of time management taking over people's lives.
'Cause the better you are at managing your time, the more shit you end up doing, the more you have to worry
Isn't
about.
necessarily good.
But it's also not necessarily
Not necessarily true, yeah.
It's because
It's just what tends to happen to
Right.
people.
yeah,
Well, I think
if you do it for the sake of doing it, and if you misinterpret what productivity is and is for, and because to me, I just reject this question, the premise of this question out of hand, which is that there's something negative about
partying.
either partying or managing your time or your productivity.
Well, I think
sort of thing.
because what usually happens is when the first time, I don't know if this happened to you guys, but the first time you hop on the sort of like self-improvement and the productivity train, it tends to take
You do
on
it wrong.
You do it wrong. And so it tends to take on this, you are going to almost inevitably get this sort of frenetic pace
Yeah.
where
I
you
did
burn.
it.
You're going to burn out.
Yeah, I did it. You did it. I think you probably did. You'll just like, you learn the tools
you
for
have
how
to
to manage your time.
self-improve at self-improvement before you can self-improve.
Yeah. And then at some point
Yeah.
you're like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything. I'm just going to lay around. I'm going to party because I have time to party because I'm extremely efficient with
But
whatever I do.
what even is partying though? Like because this is
Here's
this
the-
is-
I don't
partying
give
here
a
is
shit
set-
about partying.
Yeah. But the thing is, partying here is just set in contrast between like being a responsible human. Because it's saying like, yeah, we should manage your money and your time. But what about partying, right? As if somehow the
Partying
thing that
is-
sucks is being a responsible person, and that partying is when you get to stop being responsible.
Well, this also kind of comes. It's to me, this is the
Mhm.
same train of thought that leads to the idea that there's like a work-life balance, or that you work, and that's the thing that sucks, and then later you like refresh yourself by doing your life things,
Mhm.
right? But like, so just this past Sunday, I just decided to jam out a prototype in the evening of some stupid game idea that I had, just for fun, and also because I was like feeling kind of rusty and whatever. And I had a blast. Like I had a lot of fun putting this thing together, and it looks a lot like my work, which is I'm building video games and I'm programming, right?
Mhm.
But the fact is, like, I had a really good time doing it. I learned a lot of
Mhm.
interesting things.
Well,
And
I think the question kind of goes down to it's a different one, which is so say it's like socializing
Mhm.
for purely for the sake of just hanging out with some other human beings. The question of where does that fit into your productivity matrix if you're on the self-improvement train?
This fits into perfectly.
I know. Well, that's the thing is it does, but I think when you initially start out looking at how to improve, the problem that oftentimes people have is that they are doing more and more and more, right? And that's sort of the treadmill that you get on where you're like, well, I can do more, so I should keep on packing more and more stuff in. And really what the reality is that the self-improvement should be used to essentially free yourself in a time sense from having to constantly be
worried
behind or
and
worried
stressed.
or whatever else. And so you use it to get your work done in whatever capacity that means for you. And then not to just keep on adding shit on that is not something that matters to you. I think a big part of this is
It gives you, you just do what matters to you.
well, that's the thing. Is
Yeah.
people actually don't. If you do the self-improvement and this productivity stuff without stepping back and asking why
Mhm.
it is you're doing all the things that you're doing, then it actually feels terrible because you're doing more and more and more stuff that you don't actually give a shit about or that doesn't feed you.
But all that stuff, I mean, the fact is everything that you do generates chaos, which then has to be managed.
Mhm.
And so the more you do, because you're becoming better at doing more stuff, the more chaos you also have to manage so that it becomes, I mean, the fact is there's never, and we talk about this in the studio all the time. We don't have deadlines on things. We don't have many management systems at all, really. We just say there's always infinite work to do.
Mhm.
So
We know the trajectory we're trying.
we know where we're trying to go. So your job is just to, within sort of the normal work time frame, we just kind of allot time for it because you could do it all day. And sometimes we do because we are enjoying it, right? But otherwise, we just say, right, between these hours, do as much as you can, right? But keeping focus that you're prioritizing things properly, and so that when you do get things done, they all align towards some broader goal. You can work as all that stuff.
Right. You know why.
You know
And
why.
you know the importance. And I think that's a
And
big
it's not
part
about
of it.
getting work done for the sake of getting work done, because again, there's just always more to
Well, I think
do.
so I did that Uberman thing where I only slept for 2 hours a day for 2 weeks.
Yes,
The
you
primary
did do that.
So this is when I hopped on the productivity train because it was like the initial one. Talk
I
about
need to do more.
I need to be awake for 22 hours a day so I could do all the things. That got real old within like 3 days as far as being up at night and just being able, like you were functional if you were doing it well enough. Well, functional enough, I guess. And
You
and so-
existed.
So I could do stuff, and I did. I learned some stuff, worked on various things, but I found at the end of the day that the reality was that I didn't care about that many things to need that much extra time, and it was actually just taking away from my human time in the evenings with friends and stuff if I would have to go like nap in the middle of socializing with people. So in other words, it displaced what was actually important.
Yeah,
and that
well,
became
it's-
very
You got,
obvious
you got a lot more hours, but they suck.
for no reason. It's like,
For no
well, who
reason,
gets?
yeah.
I'm going to bed.
Well,
I'm
you have
good.
to
Yeah.
before you do anything, you need to understand what your values are. Because if you're a person who doesn't actually care about socializing with people, then in that context, it might make sense to basically continuously become better and better at packing your day full of various kinds of work related achievements. Most people are not like that, and probably really nobody is actually. But if you're like we are, then what you say instead is, again, there's infinite stuff to do. I can't do all of it. It's literally impossible. I'm not trying to do all the things isn't even what I'm doing, because that doesn't make any sense. It's too impossible. And so instead you say, I want to become better and better and better at the stuff that I am doing and be able to do it more effectively, more efficiently, just so it's better, so that I can get more done in the time I've chosen to allot to it.
Yes,
Which
that's
is the
the
key.
important piece. Yeah.
If you just give yourself the whole day, so that every hour, every waking moment, every day is about a thing, and then you get better and better and better at getting stuff done during the entire day, then yeah, God, that's going to burn you out.
Oh yeah, I'll make you tired. I mean, like you built a workbench this past weekend.
Mhm.
I made some sweet bread and watched some Great British Baking Show. I did no technical work, quote unquote. Well, I guess I graded a ton of games, but
you graded 30 games.
yeah, I did
but
that.
yeah.
So I did that for 12 hours. But the other 18 hours or whatever that I was awake,
But you worked on yourself.
I was just hanging out with people and making bread, chilling, because I'm productive enough that during any work day I can get a shitload of stuff done.
Yeah, so that when you leave after the day, you feel like I gave it. And this is the whole vision we have for what working in the studio is supposed to be like. Is that you come in, you just put everything
crush
on
it.
the table,
Yeah.
literally everything. You just crush the fuck out of that day. You
And then you crush the
process
table.
improve. You crush the table, then build a new one.
Build a new table when you
and
go
then
home.
When you go home, yeah.
Yeah.
And then so that you can go home and you can look back and just feel like you just really did everything possible. And you'll still reevaluate and ask, how could I do even more? the next day, right? But it's all about keeping these things constrained so that you can then now go home. And when you're at home, you might have a new list of things that you're going to continue to crush. And that can include, like, there's no reason to say that partying or socializing or doing something just by yourself or just listening to music or any of these things aren't both parties and things you're self-improving at.
Yeah.
Because they really everything, every moment of your day should be both.
But you could also be asking, how could I party better?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
we got back to the house last night for the fire pit, and Diana had prepped all of the plates and food. My wife prepped all the plates and food and stuff. And so we just walk in and it's like showtime, right? Party's ready to go. There's no, we had brought food from the favorite barbecue place.
So we
that
just
was
slapped it onto the
10 feet
plates.
away, slapped it on the plate, go eat, start a fire. We had wood out there. So like, and at the end of the night, I was like, that was really nice. And Diana said, yeah, I love designing experiences for people, which is what a party is, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you enjoy it, plan it, enjoy it.
Yeah. So I mean, in the end, you can do things poorly or you can do things well.
Just party
if to
well.
you partying just means doing things poorly, then fine.
But if partying is like having a great time,
Yeah. Do it well.
have a
You
great
gotta know,
time
you gotta
even
know what
better.
you're getting out of things. And,
Yeah.
and
well,
do
and
it.
I also want to say, you know, I think it's the case that you can simultaneously know that you're good at something or enjoy something a lot, and also know that it can be improved. And I think for a lot of people, until you're able to hold both those ideas simultaneously, we're like, this is great, and also could be improved, and there's no rub.
Conflict. Yeah.
That's kind of the place where you need to get to if you're working on productivity.
Because that's what creates the drive to be always doing better without
being sad,
the
or
worry that
burnout.
you get when you first start out really focusing on productivity and developing expertise and that sort of thing. When you're first starting, you're just always worried about how you're not good enough at it. And to you, the fact that you haven't done something as successfully as you want feels bad and is only negative and all of that. But there's a thing you just have to get through on the other side, where now knowing that you're not as good as you could be is fine. And in fact, that's just your life now.
Right.
You never get to be
The
as
best.
good as is possible because there's always some better that you could do. And you can just kind of embrace that fact and get to the point where you just are really good, where you're absolutely good, even though there's always better that you can be. You just
Yeah.
embrace it. Just embrace that fact.
Just roll with it. Be like water or like apple juice.
Maybe fire.
Yeah. All right. Next question
Consume
comes
everything
from
in your path.
next question comes from Kulabula.
Hey.
Kulabula says, I've almost finished my game. I'm not sure whether to release my game as free to play on the App Store or with Steam Direct. I'm trying to guesstimate the revenue for some games. Could you tell me if I'm too low or too high? My guess is Quadrupus Rampage made $380,000 gross.
God, I wish.
It did not.
Sweet Jesus. Quadrupus Rampage made $10,000 in its first
6 months,
3 months.
3 months.
And then probably not much more than that in the next.
And then the
3
next
months.
month it made $370,000, which was great.
Actually, but it's lifetime.
It's
It's lifetime it made.
Is it like 100?
Like 80 or 90, I think.
Yeah, it's about
It's
maybe.
close to 100
About
now,
100,000, something
but it's
like
been
that.
out for 3 or 4 years.
3, 4, yep, 4
And
years.
So let's talk about the point. So the point of making games as opposed to some other products is that there's no continued cost to selling it.
Yeah.
So in other
you got
words,
to maintain it though.
you gotta
keep it
maintain
up and running.
Quadrupus Rampage kept us alive for a long time because it just sits there and makes money in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're
We
podcasting,
got sandwiches coming in.
we got sandwiches coming in from Quadrupus Rampage. Well, actually, probably nowadays
Specifically,
more
half
like
a sandwich.
gumballs. Yeah.
Yeah.
They also pay us. They pay us. I don't know if you need to know this before you go on the App Store. They actually pay you in sandwiches. They just get delivered.
They just send
to
you
your
pile.
house.
You got to really build up an appetite.
Yeah, but there's like a 45-day lag time though between when you sell things and when you get your sandwiches.
Semi truck shows up.
Yeah.
million
Yeah, in the
sandwiches.
contract they say the first $500 per month you earn will be delivered in the form of sandwiches. So
But yeah, so that's way off for Quadrupus by a huge margin.
Yeah.
The
at
first
least a factor of
and
four.
I guess the important bit is that it's nice that it's made about 100,000 over 4 years now.
Mhm.
But that's not important literally at all if you're starting out because you need money
now.
immediately. so the as far as the question of going free to play or Steam Direct, all that really hinges on both your connections and also
the game.
with the game. Yeah, the structure of the game. Free to play is not just a thing you can slap on, which is kind of like what we did with Quadrupus Rampage, which is probably why it doesn't make much money.
And it really wasn't.
Um,
I mean, we put ads in it to double its revenue, which
6
is
months in.
what allowed it to get up to the level that it's currently at, because it was originally making just half as much money.
Right.
So I think we also discovered too that if you make a pay up front game, because interestingly, this question you can either it says free on the App Store or through Steam Direct. You can also do paid on the App Store. That's Not all games on the App Store are free.
Or free to play on Steam.
Yeah. You know, you have a lot of options, but it basically comes down to, like Sam was saying, free to play has to be built into the game. And you also have to recognize that you're going to have mostly players who don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like your uninstall rate on day one is going to be like 70%.
Yep.
1% of people are going to buy something, you know.
And this is if you have a really good game.
If you have a really good game. Yeah. And so,
I
don't know. We've really leaned hard away from free to play, but we also realized that for premium stuff, you need featuring.
Yeah.
Like you need to get the game promoted by the store. You need the store's stamp of approval. Hey, this is a good game. Everybody should play it. Because if you don't, you know, people are going to be you're not going to get that initial surge of good reviews and stuff that's going to encourage more people to buy it.
So I guess it's an important context note too. Quadrupus Rampage did get featured in Google Play, and we had about 700,000 people, 700,000 downloads in those first 90 days when we made the $10,000.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. It is a high volume required for play, especially if you're really bad at free to play monetization, which we are.
Oh, and you got to ask, do I have the capacity for customer support for 700,000 people?
Right. Yeah. Because your free players will ask for just as much help as your paying players will.
Yeah, your average player will bring in like 1 cent, but everybody's going to have customer support problems.
So
our best advice for that is just to not do customer support if you're doing a free to play.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really.
Yeah. You can't. It's not even really possible.
But yeah, so your answer's way off or your guess is way off. Hope it helps.
Yeah. All right, next question
in terms of what you should do, though,
who knows?
I don't know.
Just figure it out. Look at your game. Look at what else is doing out there, doing well. I don't know. Next question comes from Woland77. Sam, you talk about loving the way WoW used to be. I think you even mentioned having played on one of the throwback servers. Looks like Blizzard isn't very eager to make their own. As game devs, do you sympathize with their forward-looking decision? So for context, World of Warcraft has been out since 2004.
Yeah.
So it's been out for 13 years almost. It has had numerous expansion packs. I think it's on like number 7. And every time a new expansion comes out, dramatic new features are added to the game. And lots of old features are completely changed or in some cases just removed. And so the game as it stands now is just a very, very different animal than it was back then.
So the thing that I liked about the previous versions was actually the difficulty with which it was, I guess, the difficulty with which you found other players to play with and had to basically, you essentially ended up having to build an actual social circle in order to reliably do things like raiding dungeons.
You had to talk to people.
You had to talk to people. That's a big difference. I did play on that, I don't remember what that was called, but that Seth showed me the Burning Crusade server that we played on for a little bit, which was a lot of fun. And there's a ton of people on it, which is hilarious. But
to be fair, I was paying my WoW subscription at the time, so I felt good about it. It was okay. I was still paying Blizzard.
But yeah, so I as far as the overall thing, I think the thing is it's a business decision. I think that's an important thing to note. Game design and player experience probably has not much to do with it because the reality is maintaining, especially with something like WoW, maintaining 2 separate versions of that, or even say 3 or 4 or 7. Depending on how they would want to split something like that, would be, I think, from a business standpoint, just kind of insane.
Except for one really important point, which is specifically, this question probably comes about because of there was a WoW private server called Nostalrius, which has been shut down. It's been shut down due to legal action from Blizzard. And Nostalrius had 800,000 people signed up to play. And on any given day, it was actually far more active than any of Blizzard's actual official servers. And I think the question here, and this was actually independently maintained by a separate team who did this for fun. And they had managed to secure all the code and they kept everything exactly up to date and they were constantly fixing bugs and they were actually improving upon, they left all the functionality the same, but they were constantly improving on the stability of things and whatever, right? So there's a dev team out there that's literally already done this and solved all the problems.
So I think that's the interesting thing. So I think as from that standpoint, this is an interesting thing. When you have a game that's
with like 800,000 customers, which is crazy. Right?
When you have a game that's essentially a phenomenon at that point, I do think there may be some merit to, for example, licensing out essentially previous versions of it. And yeah, the question is, are those 800,000 players going to play Legion, going to play the newest expansion, which is Blizzard's question? But the thing is, if they were able to say license it and essentially make money regardless, then they could probably just do it.
Although, was this freely available to everybody playing?
Probably.
Yes.
How was it supported? How did you pay for the server costs?
I don't know. I think there was probably donations or something like that.
But that's the thing is the question is, why were those people on that server? Was it because they all wanted the vanilla WoW experience, or because it was free?
Right.
Right.
Or some combination.
I mean, it shouldn't be surprising at all that you have more people active on a free server.
Right.
Even if it's even if everybody on there, all 800,000 people were like, this is a worse experience than the one I want playing Legion, right?
But it's free.
But it's free. Then that would mean that what this server is doing in that extreme case, but in all cases, is either directly competing with Blizzard's actual products, meaning it's reducing their the revenue potential of their company, or it's taking all the people who would be pirates, who would not pay for the game anyway, because
just
they
funneling
can't
them into one place
and just funneling them all into one place that they have nothing to do with. They don't even have to touch. I don't know if you could even tell the difference, but to me, this is actually more of a question of like,
interesting.
Who are these people?
It's almost like there's a paywall, right? In this kind of scenario where there's like the shittier
the free
version of the
demo.
game. I'm gonna call it. I don't want to raise a ruckus. I don't know if it's actually shittier, but you know what I mean. It's
different.
It's just different.
Lower
It's
poly,
very different. Yeah.
lower resolution.
It definitely has worse graphics.
Worse graphics version of the game, and less game presumably. But otherwise, it's kind of different. So it's kind of like a prequel basically to what's available, and you can play that for free, or you can pay $10 a month or whatever it is, and play the actual game. So really, this is just no different than a normal like paywall model, except that Blizzard isn't running the thing that is the free part.
Right.
But what we know from our experience with paywalls is that just almost nobody actually uses them. Yeah. Because they just want to play it for free. But it does seem to help with things like support issues and that kind of stuff, because you've sort of stratified your customer base into the.
Right. I mean, I think so. Honestly, if it were made available, I think that's an interesting thing. If it were made available, say a Burning Crusade server that was Blizzard's own, that ended up being community focused, basically. I do think they would get a lot of people who would come back and play that particular.
I mean, really, it would just
What if you had to pay for it?
Yeah, really, it would amount to
I
them.
think they still would.
They would need to.
That was like
they would need to
heyday
work
of
with that dev team to basically hook those servers into their subscription servers, right? It would probably take a few months of technical work to actually integrate what's going on those servers, right?
Depends on-
At least, yeah.
I wouldn't even.
When you
Given
put
my
a
web dev
number on it.
experience, I wouldn't even presume to guess what that would look like.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact is, Blizzard has a ludicrous amount of resources available to
Here's
them.
a question: If
They
we
have
had
infinite money.
Yeah.
if we had a game that had like 1 million subscribers, and then in 10 years, 10 expansions later, we were like, you know what, we're done working on this, so we're just going to open up a server for each version of the game, and you could pay for whatever one you want to be on. Like, would that be a thing that you would consider doing?
Well, I wouldn't consider doing it in house. Right. This is what I think is the interesting part is like you've got
license
there's
it
a
out.
team out there that's
Right.
already doing
Right.
it.
Mm-hmm.
You just start
He's
paying
really
them.
pumped about the game, and
Yeah, you hook
he wants to
this-
interact directly with the fan base and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like you hook that server up to your subscription servers. You start paying that dev team. And there you go. Just roll them in,
Interesting.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that is the thing is the only sound business reason to not do this, I guess, to reject this kind of other server is because of fears that it is directly competing with their current product. But in that case, that means that they could have two potential products. Right. Because
Exactly.
they're one fucking company. Who cares if they're competing with themselves? It doesn't matter.
It costs us.
Well, I mean, they already have Hearthstone. They've already got Heroes of the Storm.
they're already
They've got-
competing with themselves,
Yeah.
right? And of course, this is more direct because it's the game. But I mean, a 10-year-old game versus a modern game that's as different conceptually as like Hearthstone versus.
I think the one thing that would be the competitive difficulty is Blizzard's gone very hard on Battle.net and trying to roll all their games into Battle.net, right? And so having a version of the game floating around there that isn't hooked up to the modern version of Battle.net, where like you launch it through the Blizzard launcher and you can see people also playing Diablo and whatever,
Yeah,
right?
You'd have to do that.
So they would need to rework it, which would be the technical hurdle probably. But anyway, it's an interesting question.
Hopefully, we have that predicament someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
It's a good problem to have.
Yep, good problems.
All right, next question comes from just some dude who says, would you consider making your talks into an audio format and releasing them as a podcast?
We are going to do the opposite. Does that help?
Make them into a video format.
Yeah.
and then
release it as
release
a YouTube
them
video.
as an audio clip.
No, I meant we're turning our podcast into videos.
Yes.
Right.
But which is exactly the opposite of what.
We're doing that.
This
And we actually have just today we had a conversation about potentially reworking some of our talks and bringing them all into our YouTube channel.
Mhm.
I think the talks have a necessary visual aspect to them in terms of, showing images or figures on the screen or whatever. So as a pure audio sort of podcast format, I think it would be a little tougher to
We could try
recreate
it,
the
though.
experience.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question.
But a lot of it is, that would mean you would want to design a talk to be audio
Spoken.
only.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons that we're going to start putting our podcast onto YouTube is because there's a enormous differential in reach that something like that visual stuff has versus pure audio stuff, because just currently the audience for audio only content is just much smaller.
Yes.
So for us to do, we wouldn't want to go design a talk specifically for use in an audio format, because that actually represents a much smaller fraction. Just fewer people get to see it, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
True. All right. Next question comes from Kulabula, who's just
Killing it.
just everywhere. Kulabula says, an outside factor gave you the idea / reason to make Crashlands, which was Sam getting cancer. You went with a game feeling idea rather than a game mechanic idea. With your new game, are you going back to the old way or focusing on feeling and positioning?
Well, this time Sam has shingles.
Right. So we got a new.
This game came out of my shingles, bro. Just an endless.
We don't know what to make. Sam, get a disease.
Get a
disease.
You guys are just gonna start injecting me with shit. Come up with something.
We need some inspiration.
We already did.
Like, Sam, your art hasn't been up to snuff. Let's
It's
I gotta
time.
get my
It's
shingles
time.
vial.
Get back in the tube. Yeah, I think. Well, with this one, we're aiming similarly huge in terms of both the technical requirements and the sort of differentiation in design between this one and the last one. And what I mean with that is we're trying to hit something that we've always wanted to as far as our game designs are, but that we haven't quite managed to do yet, which is more systems and less of a sort of monolithic design. So Crashlands is everything just feeds directly into crafting, and that's it. You don't even find, I guess you find 3 weapons out in the world dropped from things, and that's about it. And so there's everything
But
just
they're
kind
all
of
just gongs.
they're all just the gongs. So
So you just find one weapon out in the world.
yeah, everything fuels directly into one single progression system. And so with this next one, we're trying to attack it on multiple fronts and develop a much more rich overall game experience that you can explore in a variety of ways. So we're pushing in a lot of big ways without any sort of external factor, aside from actually, I guess the changes that we feel like we actually have the time now, because of Crash
to make a
Lands
game
2.
we want to make.
Yeah, to really push it up and from a technical standpoint, work on some stuff. And so we can't talk about it yet, but the goal is it's leading with a combination of, we know what the general mechanical or the general genre that it falls into, and then we know the various feelings that we want to hit. And the interesting thing about game dev is that you're not going to be able to hit those feelings until later.
Right.
So we actually just sort of finished basically a mechanical vertical slice of the thing, and it's a fun toy. I guess that's how I put it. It's a fun toy right now.
You get a good 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're like,
of
cool.
gameplay out of it.
What now? What? And it works, and it seems like the way we've sort of conceptualized everything seems like it works well enough. And so the next stuff is adding in basically progression systems, fleshing out environments, making the environments actually interesting to be in, all this stuff. And so the reality is that you have to go, even with Crashlands, we still went mechanic first, but you're building always with this idea in mind of what are these feelings that you're trying to invoke or trying to hit in the player at the end of the day. But the weird thing is in dev, you literally can't until, like, the bigger, loftier things have to come later. So right now it's just like, get the damn mechanic working.
When I remember
move
after the first 6 months of dev for Crashlands, we started having some people come and play it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was endlessly disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean there was, because the thing is, like, especially Crashlands actually was a fairly systems focused game in the sense that everything revolves around this crafting system. The combat has to feel good, and there has to be enough interesting stuff in the world that you can pick up interesting materials to build interesting things, right? And so at the beginning, in the first 6 months, the systems were nearing the end of being fleshed out, but the content wasn't really there. And so we'd have people come and play it. And it was kind of like that 10, 15 minutes in, they were just like, so, like, is that it? That's the whole thing.
This is what you've been working on.
This is 6 months of work. Because it really, the compelling aspects of the game come at the end.
Yeah.
And
this, like, we always hold story until the end, because I think there's a really interesting talk by I can't remember if it was the Marvel guy or one of the Red Hook guys, but they was talking about how you don't do oh no, it was the guy from Spry Fox who made Triple Town and Alpha Bears and that sort of thing. He said they actually don't do any world building until the end, because they said it's so sexy that it will cover up your shitty mechanic and your shitty gameplay experience. And so, I think that's what we do, and we take that to heart.
I don't think that's not fully true because everything informs everything.
Yes.
Right. I mean, we did start with an idea of what we wanted the game to feel like.
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely did. It wasn't like a sharp, crystal clear idea, right? But it was. Do we want this to be? Do we want this to be a sense of mostly adventure? Like what kind of sense of achievement and accomplishment do we want the player to feel like they have? What kind of social component? So we actually started there. We started with what do we want the player to feel like they're getting out of this, and then you actually started with a little bit of lore aspects of just like, okay, now where could we set this relative to the rest of the universe? That kind of ties that together, and at the same time. Once we nailed basically the basic gameplay type, then Seth went off and started prototyping what that would look like. And then these now just feed.
Well, I think it's interesting is like you're essentially constantly triangulating, and then I like the way that the developer of Owlboy put it, was you're interpreting your own abstract art. That's it. So when Seth makes this new system in the game that allows us to set things on fire or whatever else, now it's like, oh, we can set things on fire, but the game's underwater. Which
how do we explain that?
Yeah. So now I'm
also,
like, okay.
what if covering a thing with marshmallows is the same as being on fire?
Yeah.
What would that?
What if?
Yeah.
What if you could then skin the mallows?
Yeah.
And make a s'more out of it.
And
so
it's a crafting game now.
So the interesting thing is that basically questions get raised from implementing mechanics, and then I'll take an hour or so and think about it and answer some lore questions that have come up because of just random ideas we had about stuff we wanted to do. Is there a day-night cycle? Cool. How long is it? What's the time like? And then do we have moons? Yes or no? And then what would they call those moons?
What's a moon?
Yeah. What does the moon do?
Yeah, so I would say, I just don't think it's accurate at all that there's sort of separate phases.
Sure.
That we go through.
It's just a constant iteration.
It's a constant iteration, but it's all these components are figuring out because I don't think you can basically make a game and then build a world on top of it to cover up the shitty parts. I don't think that makes any sense at all. Like you said, this speaker said, right?
Well, no, but I mean, you can, if you get too enthused about the world building.
Yeah, no, but the idea is don't flesh out one piece.
Correct.
But
you
build
get enough to go.
It's an easy mistake to make if you're doing things in sequence. And actually, there's something that it's like we taught a course this past semester, and one of the things we noticed was that we gave students the option to do art in their games for the last half of the semester. And some of the students who put art in their games had weaker mechanics.
Yeah. Yep.
And in some cases it was things like people whose games were in a good spot before they added the art, and then when they put the art in, they did things like add long animation sequences and stuff that just totally jolted the gameplay. And it actually kind of like threw a wrench into things. So I think it is a situation that you'll see from time to time where the visual or storytelling aspects of a game actually just kind of like get jammed in there and either
muck it up.
Yeah, they either muck it up, or sometimes if that's where the focus is, then like maybe. And this is kind of how I felt with I have a particular opinion about like BioShock Infinite, where I just couldn't finish it because it was, for me, it was unbelievably non-challenging. Right.
Yeah.
Like it was just really mundane. And like when I walked around, I could hear my footsteps changing and like echoing. And like when I walked through a puddle, I heard a splash. The audio work was amazing and the lighting was beautiful, and the story was great. But anytime I got into what could have been an interesting scenario where I could actually act as the player, I was just bored out of my mind. Right. And so I think it's really easy, even for a studio with thousands of people working on a game, to focus so hard on the visuals. And
it's probably easier for that to happen in that scenario, honestly, because the thing is, once you can work in parallel, then it's like, well, the art team needs something to do. So do the writers.
Yep.
So,
well, but also people, the groups can't communicate with each other. So they're not actually, somebody is at the top making decisions, and whatever that person cares about the most, right? That's kind of where things are going to go. But then further, every team is now acting independently based on what's being told from above, right? And so all they can, like, that means like, and we hear about this from other studios that are bigger, that have an art team where the artists just work together making art, and that's what they do. And they see themselves as in direct opposition to the programmers, and vice versa, right? Where there's a programming team and an art team, and for some reason they're like fighting each other for what each one wants, right? Instead of working together to come up with the awesome stuff that work out for both of them. And so I think that that's just a consequence of things being developed just purely in parallel instead of collaboratively, where every piece of working on a game, as well as just every piece of a game itself, just needs to be built at the same time so that you can iterate on top of all the changes that are happening everywhere.
Which is why a game should never be built by more than 700 people, I think.
That's fair cap.
That's about the cap.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so next question comes from BabuTube, who says, how do you come up with names for your characters without having 50 Bobs and 48 Joes? Does the naming process come naturally, or do you need to think to get a great name, like Flux, Juicebox, Forn, etc.? Where do the names come from?
Some of them require lots of thought.
Well, in the case
Most of them don't.
In the case of Crashlands, we first looked at we developed some sort of general phonetic rules for the different aliens. So we said like the Brubus, they use a lot of like T's and X's and kind of hard K sounds.
And a lot of I's.
Yeah. And we also said like, that whenever there's a town, we said culturally, there's a Brubus who runs the town, and the town gets changed. The name of the town gets changed to be named after that person, right?
And then end in
Axe. Yeah.
Right.
So you have this, Choo an Axe or Clicks an Axe or whatever. So you have these towns that are named after the people, and then that kind of informs some other stuff.
Yeah. So we kind of made up arbitrary language and cultural rules for the.
Right. Yeah. And we also said like the quadrupus, they like to have the ack sound, right? Because when we just threw that in because our first quadrupus ever was named Tack.
That was the only piece of data we had. So, all right.
So we got like Macalack and Brick-a-Brack and
Jack, Mac, Flack, Brick-a-Brack, and Tack.
Yep. And then I think the Tendrom, they have a lot of like long kind of sounds, like usually 2 A's back to back. So like Gabby, Gaaby,
Andiana and Johns.
Yeah. So we just kind of like just pick a sound that, or a combination of sounds that a particular group of people culturally will like to use. And then we just kind of like try stuff out until we kind of wiggle something out. Now, as far as
like
Flux
main
goes,
characters, do you remember this?
Flux was named because we had an item in the game called a Flux, which was our first attempt to make Crashlands free to play.
Yeah.
And it was an energy source that came out of just everything, right? And this was actually before the concept of juice was created in the Butterscotch universe. So the Flux was everywhere, and we liked the word because it's like was like a catalyst for changing something or whatever. And so we stripped that out because we hated the free to play stuff. We still we had that word in our heads, I think. And
I
so,
didn't think the character had a name until because we used to be able to customize. It was a customized character.
Used to choose.
You would change your color of your suit.
But her last name came from that stupid music video.
Flux
If you can even call it that, where there's this guy that's just going, "I'm the best."
it's a rap song that again. I'm the best.
I'm the best.
So it's spelled DA space BES.
I'm pretty sure if you just do a YouTube search for "I'm da best," that's
You'll
exactly
see it.
what'll come up.
It's total garbage.
So we were watching it at the time for some reason.
We were like, well, Flux is the best.
Yeah. And then we just used Dabes.
Dabes.
Pronounced it Dabes instead.
Dabes is the best.
I do remember that conversation.
It's creativity at work, folks.
And then for Juicebox was originally a sort of floating encyclopedia named Whizbox.
And then when you crashed, he turned into Spazbox. So that's a bunch of people.
That's right. Yeah.
A bunch of people asked about in the bog. There's the Dusk Watchers fort, and in the fort is actually the acid's in there. It's the floating holder that holds Whizbox is in there, and you can blow it up.
Yep.
You don't get a Whizbox out of it, but you can blow it up. Maybe you do.
I think you do.
You do get a Whizbox.
Yeah.
The Whizbox comes out of it, but nobody knows what it's for.
Yeah. And when you crashed on the planet, because we wanted the robot companion to be sassy, and so Whizbox originally was this very sort of butler sort of style thing, but then on the ship during the tutorial, but then when you crash, he sort of gets
some wires crossed,
scrambled, so he calls himself Spazbox after that, and then he was just really sassy.
And he didn't actually live in the game, though. He just was like
he was a UI.
Yeah, he was a UI element. So, and he dropped these really annoying pinging alert sounds in, which was a pain in the ass.
Yeah. So again,
it's
that first year of development of coming up with new systems and stuff.
And then we looked at it. Eventually, we looked at it and Seth suggested we put it in the game, like Bella and like Bingo. And so redrew it, and it looked kind of like a juice box. So we just called it Juice Box.
and then this was also around the time that we published Roid Rage. I think.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
we
yeah,
were, and
right.
we were thinking about juice
Yeah.
as like a concept.
Well, actually, because we had probably 3 different lore backgrounds for Crashlands before we saw what we did,
Mhm.
and they all were around juice related things. And actually, Juicebox's original sort of backstory was that he was constructed by Flux as a juice detecting machine.
Mhm.
Right. Because the original story was you were going to Wonope to find juice because the sensors showed that it just had a ludicrous amount of juice. You know, you're the one hero from Earth going to like solve the Earth's energy crisis once and for all by taking the juice from this planet or whatever. Then we changed the story because that was nonsense.
Yeah. But there is still lots of juice in there.
There's still lots of juice. Wonope is still full of juice, and that's gonna be important in the future probably.
Probably.
Somehow or another. So, so yeah, and then Forn. We can't talk about Forn.
Well, all of the Viru villains,
Except
except for Pete. But Pete came from the original Tau Fighted Gods, which you can actually now
you can play on our itch page.
Yeah, on our gem page, and that was the first.
Quetzalcoatl and Pete.
Yeah, so Hugo was originally named Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah.
The Q. For
Q.
short, until someone pointed out that we were apparently supposed to know that Q is a huge villain in the Star Trek series.
Yeah.
And so
every time we said, "Oh yeah, we have our villain named Q. He's an alien," and people are like, "Oh, you took that from Star Trek." No, it just we shortened Quetzalcoatl.
So we're like, we need to
Which,
rename
to be
this
fair,
guy.
we took from somewhere else.
So Hugo Duco's name origination was actually, we were like, well, this guy's just like a huge douche.
How can we turn that into a name?
Huge douche. Hugo Duco. That was basically it.
Yeah. And Forn's full name is Fornicranios. We don't need to talk about where that came from.
I'll just do some. We'll
Do some
call that as a
reverse
riddle.
engineering.
Yeah.
It's a little
Yeah,
riddle.
Yeah, how do you reverse a portmanteau? There must be some name for that.
Yeah.
I think it's just 2 words.
A portmanteau.
Yeah. So that's where the names come from. All right, you guys. Well, my coffee's empty. I think we're out of liquids for the day. So we'd like to thank our producer Fat Bard for making us sound beautiful and luxurious. We'd also like to thank the Butterscotch dev team for continuing to build stuff while we're in here hooting and hollering. We'd also like to thank our community moderators who keep our Discord and forums running and keep us free from all the riffraff.
Thank you.
Yeah. And of course, we'd like to thank our listeners for coming back every week to listen to us ramble. And also, we don't advertise this show. We depend completely on word of mouth and good reviews. So if you want to help us grow, please tell your friends, tell everybody you know, tell your grandma, tell your uncle, tell your dog. And also, hit up iTunes or wherever it is that you can give us stars and slap some stars on there. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.